Hello and welcome to the Recovery Matters podcast from CCAR, the podcast where putting recovery first is always the goal. Here we present interviews, discussions, stories, and speeches to cultivate the understanding and acceptance of the power, hope, and healing of recovery from alcohol and other addictions. Here are your hosts, Phil and Sandy Valentine.
Phil, I don't think your shirt is good for my recovery because I detect some things that make me think, yes, pina colada, margarita, a tiki bar. But I do appreciate that you're expressing yourself by wearing very colorful Hawaiian shirts this year.
Do you know what this shirt is? It cures your ail.
It
ails.
Does. Ale?
Ails. When you call the doctor and the doctor says, put the lime in the coconut, you shake it all up. You put the lime in the coconut, you shake it all up.
Has anybody told you that maybe you should sing on the podcast?
Or not sing?
Or not sing?
I like this shirt. It goes well. It's my lime in the coconut shirt.
It does match the yellow croc, so we're all good. But we do have somebody in the room who is dressed very nicely in a way that doesn't make me think of drinking, and that is with our guest, Zach.
Say hello, Zach.
Hello, Zach.
And who are you?
My name is Zach. I'm a EDRC recovery coach for CCAR.
Yeah, you don't have to lean into the mic. You're perfectly good. Just laying back and chill. That's why we got your buddy over here, and the camera's not going to see him, but do you know that guy over there?
Our producer.
I know him very well, Mr. Thomas Russo.
Yes, and how do you know Tom?
We grew up together in Old Saybrook, Connecticut.
Did you call him like Tommy?
I call him Tommy, yeah.
Tommy? I don't think I've ever heard anybody call him Tommy.
Yeah.
Isn't that one of the Rugrats?
Hey.
Yeah.
What?
That was an important show in my life when I was growing up.
It was in ours, too. Our children love that show, so, show your respect for the Rugrats.
I thought I was. I mentioned that.
Tommy Pickles.
That's what it was.
Right. All the Pickles.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool show.
Yeah.
Tommy was my favorite character, too.
Yeah, he was like a tough little kid, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Had to be with those parents.
Yeah.
I don't know where that reference is going, but okay, I guess you're right. So, Zachary, or do you prefer Zach?
Zach will work.
I like Zach too.
Yeah.
You seem to be a very confident young man.
Maybe I try to put that off, but I don't know how confident,
Yeah?
Semi-confident.
Semi-confident.
Yeah.
Was it always the case?
No.
Tell me about growing up, because we like to ask all our guests about growing up.
And I love growing up in a beach community.
Well,
that's my thing.
Oh, it sounds so nice and beautiful and free. But growing up, I have a brother and I have a younger sister. And
are you the middle child?
No, I'm actually the oldest, but me and my brother
oldest?
are close in age. And I grew up in Old Saybrook, Connecticut. Have a good mom, a good dad, people who love me. I lived across the street from my Bubby and Zadie, my grandma and grandpa.
What were their names?
Bubby and Zadie. That's
Bubby and Zadie.
So culturally, where does that come from?
We're Jewish, and I think that's Yiddish or I don't know. They were from Czech Republic, and that's just what we called them. And I had a really good relationship with both of them. When I was younger, they passed on when I was after I was 18.
They lived across the street.
Across the street, I used to get a kiss from my grandma every single day.
Wow!
Every day before school.
Yeah,
I love that idea.
Yeah. Sandy and I have been talking a lot about where we're going to live. We have 4 kids together. I have 5. That's always the riddle. So, but as we approach considering retirement, where we might live, and I don't know, would you want to live across the street from one of your kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the dream. You know what I mean?
Maybe her dream.
Yeah. And my mom had, my grandma and grandpa had 7 kids too. But
Wow.
like my mom was the youngest, so she was the baby. So
She's the favorite.
I think she was the favorite. Yep, I think she was.
I like the idea of driving an RV and parking across the street or in their driveway, you know, and hanging out there a few days. But
Yeah, no, I like that
permanently
idea too.
living, I don't know.
But let's take it back to Zach.
Oh.
He gets kissed from his grandmother every day.
That's so sweet, it's so idyllic,
It
right?
is.
Yeah, and I mean, went to a small middle school and high school. You know, I actually I had a lot of friends.
Mhm.
I was one of those people who could get along with everybody. I liked football. I liked baseball. I liked punk rock music. So I had all these different kind of.
What is it with this Old Saybrook and punk rock?
So I don't know where did you get this idea that Old Saybrook is full of.
From your buddy over here, Tommy. He was
Tommy
like the
told
punk
us
rock.
that.
He actually was
So-
he was in punk rock bands. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was in.
Yeah,
he
he
didn't
was.
tell us that part.
He was. Yeah.
Now this is getting good.
Oh my
So-
God! I
so
don't want him
what-
to. I don't want him to say the name, but I remember the name.
Tommy, what's the name?
What was it?
You can't say it on here. It's copyrighted.
Oh my
Oh.
God!
Yeah.
They played shows and everything. So they played.
Was he a musician?
He was a vocalist.
What?
All right. Well, we're
We'll have to dive.
We're gonna need a part 2 for
Is it
that
good?
later. But I do need to ask.
No,
you-
it was,
No, he wasn't
it was
good.
good for being
Now,
like
I know
14,
you-
15.
Now I know you
16.
were his buddy because you would just say, no, he wasn't good.
Yeah.
Now, Tom did describe
That's
his
awesome.
attire during that season of his life. Did you have any special focus?
I'm telling you right now, when I was freshman, sophomore year, and I'll admit it, whatever, I used to wear girl jeans sometimes with like studded belts, pink belts.
Yeah.
I was that was a strong
Flared leg?
phase.
Was that a flared leg season?
No, like they were like skinny. This was before skinny jeans were like coming out. You know, now guys wear skinny jeans all the time, but we would try to wear real tight clothes. And
Did you have long hair?
I went through phases with the shaggy hair, the short
Yeah.
hair, but I never had it long. No.
Did you ever go like goth or anything?
This was more like emo. Emo. That's what it was.
Don't even try to echo.
You would get the
more,
hair,
at least
you
I
not
know
that.
I know what goth is, but I have no idea what emo is.
You're like an emotional. Yeah.
We'll have Mary catch you up tonight.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So how are things going middle school, high school?
Pretty good actually.
You're a football player?
Football player in middle school, baseball player, played baseball a little in high school.
What position?
I played right field, left field. I played third base. You know, when you're like a utility player when you're
Yeah.
not that great. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, if you're really good, you stick to that one position. I was just always, right in the middle, on the average. So I will say though that skateboarding came into play eventually in high school, and with skateboarding took me a lot of different places. I made a lot more friends, different friends, friendships that I still have today too, and actually punk rock music at the time, like Minor Threat, it was like your straight edge, and I liked that, the idea of not using any drugs or any alcohol. And my dad's a great guy, but he's an alcoholic, and I didn't want to have a drinking problem like him. So the straight edge thing really, I felt a strong connection to it. So skateboarded my ass off, just with my friends every day. Got kind of good at it, and
Describe straight edge.
so I describe straight edge as being aggressively sober, okay? Like being drug and alcohol free angrily, like with anger. And
Like with a resentment that
Like
you're
a righteousness, right?
yes,
Oh, there you
yes.
go. I like that.
And you let people know it, you know what I mean? It's not an anonymous program.
Right.
And I've, I remember some guy spilled beer on my shoe one time at a show, at a punk show, and I fought him.
You did.
Yeah, that's how
aggressive you were.
That's how aggressive I was. I was,
Did you win?
That one I won, but I lost a lot of fights back then. A lot. Yeah. I got the nose to prove it. So I had a lot of problems in that time, but I had a lot of friends, and I didn't touch a drug or drink until about 19.
I have never heard straight edge. Had you ever heard that before?
No, but I like it.
I do like it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a pretty big movement, and it was started in I think the late '80s by Minor Threat, the band, Ian MacKaye, and it just eventually morphed into punk music, hardcore music, and people wanted to not have any issues with drugs and alcohol.
Getting lost in the music instead of...
Is it still around today?
Oh, for sure. And it has a huge resurgence now.
Is it?
I have many friends who are straight edge.
Is it in skateboarding communities or just?
I'd say more it's in music communities now.
Wow. I was just thinking about the Yukon recovery community and that idea of creating a alcohol and drug-free living environment, like whether it was in a dorm or something. And what do you call it? And I like that. These are the straight edge dorms or something like that.
No, you can't.
You can't do that.
No. You can't do that. Because
we don't know straight edge culture at all, obviously.
Nowadays, straight edge is actually more positive, way more positive.
Right.
It's a more back in the '90s, early 2000s. It was like you were tough, and it was like a real hardcore thing. But now, the people I know that are straight edge are like the most unbelievable people. They're great people. You know what I mean? They're just like really loving. And I have a close friend who's straight edge, and he's also in recovery. But you know what I mean? Because he wasn't straight edge his whole life, and he used to use drugs. And so I was like that too.
So are you straight edge?
Oh no, I'm not. I don't identify myself as straight edge. I still use some. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I use nicotine vape sometimes. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't identify myself.
So is that like being a vegan except alcohol and drugs, or a vegetarian?
Yeah, vegan maybe. Yeah, no, kind of.
No.
Kind of. Yeah. Honestly, a lot of people that are straight edge are vegan too.
Wow. What would you call them? Crunchy granola people?
Yeah.
Right. I love this. I love this stuff.
You learn stuff every day.
Tommy, why didn't you ever tell us about straight edge?
Or singing.
I don't know. Well, there's reasons I wouldn't. Good reasons not to talk about singing, but I just didn't even think of straight edge. You should tell them about the tattoos.
Oh yeah, I got multiple straight edge tattoos. The
Any that we can see right now?
No, because I got them. The ones covered up on my legs. The symbolage is like X's, like 3 X's. So I got X's on my legs and X's on my back, and I would soon regret those tattoos because straight edge didn't last that long.
So 19, what happened?
19, or maybe even right before 19, I moved out of my mom's house. I was in a band. We just got back from tour. It wasn't like
you were in a band.
Yeah, it wasn't like a glorious tour. This was like in a van, and we were trucking down south and played a bunch of shows. Had fun.
Were you a musician or a vocal?
I was a vocalist.
Yeah.
Yep. And
did you two guys sing together?
Maybe not. Drunk, maybe. You know what I mean? Like yelling
together?
Songs together when we were drinking.
But not in a band together?
No.
Were you a better singer than Tom?
Should I trade with Tom because I think this could
Tom
be
and
really
I weren't
interesting.
singing, ballads over here. We were pretty much
yelling.
like growling. Yeah.
Growling.
Yeah.
Can you growl something for us?
No.
Come
I'm not gonna do that now. I have to actually use. I have to.
Okay, Phil.
What?
It's not a thing
He has
you can
to use
just.
to be able to growl.
No. I don't mean it like that. I meant I have to get loud. You know,
Okay.
I can't do it like quietly.
You can't do a quiet growl.
No.
That'd be pretty cool to see, though.
I could send you. I have a lot of recordings. You know what I mean?
Really?
I got recordings on my phone.
I
my
love
band.
when Phil learns something new.
So fascinated. This is just amazing.
Yep.
I can see it now. We're going to be driving all the way to Virginia next week.
No, we're just an EDRC coach on our CCAR social media before. This is what, This is
We're
Zach.
gonna be playing Tom's old songs and
Yeah.
Zach's old songs.
Yeah.
All right. But obviously something
Okay.
shifted where you said...
Something shifted, yeah.
Yeah.
So you moved out.
Moved out of my mom's house,
Yeah.
got home from tour, moved in with a guy I didn't really know that well, but he was from the like hardcore kind of community. He ended up turning out to have his own huge issues. But so I met a lot of new friends, and I actually had a great time in my new apartment on my own, you know, with friends. But I started, you know, smoking weed. That's what it started with, smoking some weed. And I remember the first time I got high, and how much like I ate all this cake and stuff. I was just eating it, and I couldn't. It was the first time I smoked weed. It was either very end of 18 or early 19, and I was just like, wow, this is cool. You know what I mean? And
This is better than straight edge.
yeah. And then I remember, the first time I got drunk, I remember it was at one of our friends' shows, and it was in Brantford at the Puppet House or whatever. The Brantford, it's like a little venue kind of, and it has all these puppets on the walls and stuff. And I remember getting drunk, and I remember drinking. And then I remember just like the next day and all the pictures there was of me at a party, and it looked like I was having a fabulous time, just running around, taking pictures. We were all hanging out. But I'm telling you, I can't remember any of that party at all. I have no idea. I completely blacked out.
First time you drank?
First time I drank.
Wow.
I think I've snuck little drinks when I was like 12 or 13 of beer or something,
Yeah.
but the first time I got drunk on alcohol ever. Yeah. And it was, the thing is though, I wasn't so like hot to trot to keep doing it, because I went from like drinking a couple beers to feeling it to being blacked out. So I was just like, all right, whatever, like I'm gonna keep smoking my weed. And
So
eating
one of
cake.
it's a
Yep.
philosophical question is it really fun if you don't remember it?
right, but you see the pictures with your friends and you look like you're having fun.
Yeah,
That
but-
feels like you can hear the tree if it falls in the woods.
Exactly.
Right,
It
right.
was really fun. And the reason I say that to you is our son Matthew, who's 19 now, he asked me a question on a ride. We were in the truck somewhere, and he asked me that I've been working on trying to figure out what the definition of fun is. Because a lot of his friends want to go out and have fun, which means go out and get high or drunk or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, is that fun? He goes, not so sure. I said, what's fun?
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you define fun?
Happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, so I looked up in the dictionary, and one of the terms that I really liked about it was amusement. That you find amusement in something, and that's often considered fun. So I find a lot of fun in a lot of things because I'm often amused, and I often amuse myself. But
Right.
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, the mountain most of the time he's amusing himself. That's probably too much info.
So you didn't like the drinking thing so much.
I wouldn't say I just said it. It wasn't like I hear people in the room say, "Oh, they had that first drink and they knew." You know what I mean? And I didn't know anything.
Well, you liked that. You liked the weed, though. You knew that.
I knew that. It made me feel like silly. You know what I mean?
What kind of cake was it?
It was like a homemade weird cake too.
It was delicious.
I'm
right?
telling you, it had Fritos on it or something. Like it was one of those put everything together.
It was like a cake after you smoke weed.
Yes,
You
that's
would just
exactly
love.
what it was, and I couldn't believe that you could mix all these foods together and it'd be good.
Right?
But yeah, and then
It wasn't actually a cake. He probably just took
And-
like
and-
Twinkies and Fritos.
exactly. No, I'm serious. It wasn't like a cake that you'd make for someone's birthday. This
Oh,
was
yeah.
let's throw everything in the pantry together. And,
Yeah.
I don't even know if we
Nice.
use the oven. Maybe just put the frosting on top or something.
My thing with weed was Yukon. there was a place that delivered pizza, Pizzaros, Pesaros, and you would get high, and then you would order Pizzaros pizza to be delivered. And when like that, they knocked on your dorm door, and it was there. It was heaven. I mean, the pepperoni pie-shaped pizza. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I wonder if that pizza is any good, though, honestly.
Oh, it was terrible.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was like...
It wasn't no
like,
Sally's or Pepe's or something.
No, it was terrible.
But right then and there,
right, like
it was
your
everything.
Frito-covered Twinkies
Yeah,
or
it was everything.
Whatever you were eating. So where'd you go from there? You know, so you decided you weren't going to be straight edge. You had a little drinking, a little weed.
Oh,
and
man, it took a turn fast.
Did it?
Yeah, because I went...
Were you working at the time, or what were you doing?
I was working at Nielsen.
What's that?
Nielsen Media. What I was doing was I was watching commercials all day and doing like product placement and typing in like... I was like doing database entry for... Nielsen is the one that...
Right,
Ratings.
like, Nielsen ratings and all
Yeah,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
right. And not only while I was working there, I also was working in a screen printing shop, which I loved. I was working with my friends. We were all stoners. We were all in bands, making T-shirts, you know, stealing a bunch of shirts, making our own designs, making band shirts, making a little extra money here and there. And we had a good gig there. It was nice because we were needed there too. Like the guy was never there who ran it. He was like, "We need these deadlines." Okay, we'll do it. You know what I mean? And but what actually happened was, so I think right around that time, you know, 17, 18, 19, you know, your brain is it's like ending its growth. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly what it would be. You know what I'm saying? It's like ending its growth there. And sometimes mental health issues will pop up around that time and everything. And I remember I started getting a little paranoid, and I was smoking. You know, I went from never smoking weed to smoking a lot of weed. And I had I don't know, it's like a break from reality or something, and something happened, and I freaked out. I was thinking I could, you know, I don't know, like I had superpowers or something. I can't quite remember it that well, but I ended up being, you know, hospitalized, and I was paranoid in the hospital, I remember too. But I got out, and I did feel better. And I was like, well, I got to chill with this. I think it might be from the weed. And I tried my best to chill out, and still hanging out with certain friends. And the people I was hanging out with weren't junkies. They were normal people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought I was a normal person too. So eventually, I said, I got to get my life together. And this was before any hard drugs or anything like that. I just knew I had this little mental break, and I didn't like it. Caused a lot of issues. You know, my parents were worried. So I said, all right, I'm gonna enroll into college, go to Western Connecticut State University, live with a friend in his dorm. Like I lived in the dorms, but you know what I mean. We got shared a dorm, and then I started smoking the weed again. And now drinking, because now we're, you know, that's what you do in college. And I'm like 1 year older than everybody.
Yeah.
Because I
tried
tried
year too.
Yeah, so I'm almost 20, and I'm a freshman, and I used to get really drunk and have a good old time. Had a lot of friends there, you know. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think my brother, who was also in recovery, he got some Vicodins for some reason. You know what I mean? It was like some kind of painkiller, and I remember trying I'm like fabricating this in my head, and I can't exactly remember the first time I took an opiate pill. I really can't.
Right.
I can't remember. I do know my brother did have those, like when he was in his senior year, for some reason he got a script, you know. But what happened was I just remember on break from school or whatever. I was doing terrible in school. I was selling weed. I thought I was like some big dealer, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? I was just smoking the weed and selling it. And I remember got home and people were doing, like, they were taking Percocet or Vicodin, not like a ton of it, but taking it while they were like drinking and smoking and stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna try that, of course. That's what my friends are doing. And we had a close knit of friends, even Old Saybrook. I remember popping pills, and you know what's crazy is I didn't have another aha moment. It wasn't like that because I can't even remember the exact time I felt high in an opiate. But it happened right around the end of 19, early 20. And it happened so fast, too. That's the thing. It happened so fast. I remember popping a perk or doing something like that. But then I remember the first time I bought a perk 30 off someone. And me and my friend, we split it. And we both did half of it. I remember puking at his house, but feeling like, wow, I feel so good right now, even though I'm puking. I was like, I want to keep doing this. Yeah. So that was the new thing. I was searching for those things now. And that was that was rough. Went back to school. Found a guy who was doing those things too. All of a sudden I'm hanging out with him every day. Didn't go to school. Sleeping all the time. And then I tried coke, I remember. So coke came after I tried pills. And that's how it goes, you know, and things got progressively worse and worse. That's for sure.
It sounds like you've entered into a hazy kind of dark period where you can't really even remember. It was just a period, right? It was like a extended period of time.
Exactly. I also got into a lot of fights back then. I got traumatic brain injury. And
from a fight?
Yep, from a fight that I lost.
Somebody hit you with a...
No, we had a real brawl, and we ended up rolling down some hill, and I fell like... It must have been 10 feet from, you know, right onto the pavement, and I fell on my head. And
wow.
It went and got, you know, MRI and all that stuff. It's right at the same time I was acting kind of weird, you know, from the weed and everything. And they were like, okay, well, we see something, we see an issue here, you know, and it wasn't like terrible, but they noticed something in my frontal lobe or whatever. And also they were like, oh, and you also have like a fatty tumor or whatever. But it wasn't like cancerous, but it was a fatty tumor. And I've had to get MRIs and stuff since then, but everything seems to be all right. But trailing off there. But yeah, I mean.
So where did all this darkness lead you? And talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Where it led me was, for a while, it was fun. Yeah, I had a great time.
How do you define fun?
Playing. So
you were amused.
So we had a group of like 8 people, that like to smoke weed, drink, take perk 30s, or take OxyContin, and Tommy was in it, you know, and we would either hang out at, you know, people's houses, or we would just, who had lax parents. And we'd play poker a lot, and I was really getting into poker. I love poker, and I still play poker. But
you guys have a buddy that's a poker player, right? Or is that just Tom's buddy?
Oh, well, we all play poker.
Nah.
Yeah, and I played a lot.
Yeah.
And but anyways, we'd all hang out, play poker, and then the winner would, you know, win $50 or whatever, and then they would buy a pill with it, and that was like, you know, like whoever wins gets a pill, you know, or whatever. But so for a while it was all right. I had friends. And then those pills started getting expensive. I started getting in trouble. Started getting arrested. Not for serious stuff, you know, not for violence, but stealing stuff. You know, driving without a license, you know, getting caught a couple times without it. Like, and I had a license, but I wasn't paying, whatever, speeding tickets or something. And things were just kind of spiraling. And then I remember this clear as day. I remember his name and everything. I'm not going to say it, but he was in Old Saybrook, and my brother had just started buying, like, he was selling the drugs, using the drugs, but he had just started buying, like, heroin, big bags. And I was like, whoa, we can't be doing that. And he was like, oh, dude, they're so much cheaper than the Perk 30s. And I'm like, all right. So I didn't try him for a little bit. And he didn't screw him up right away. You know what I mean? Like, he was still very functionable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember I met up with this kid one time, and he was like, yeah, dude, you gotta try dope. And I'm like, all right, fine. And I remember I used one bag, and I think I passed out. I might have kind of overdosed. You know what I mean? And came to a little bit, feeling really good, and like, and how much is this? This is, you can, for $50, you can have enough to last you 2 or 3 days or whatever. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it started. And then pills were just a thing. They were still around, but I was not using them anymore. I was trying to trade, sell. I was in possession of those things, but what I wanted was the cheaper stuff, the stuff that got me feeling even better. And that lasted for a while. There was a lot of heartache involved. My mom caught me when I was 21 or 22, and she, was really upset. She freaked out. I was stealing money from my parents. My dad found out. My dad, he was upset, but he doesn't have. They're just different. My mom was like, "You're going to rehab." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Okay, I'll go to rehab. I'll try it." All right. And I remember I did dope at rehab. I went to Stonington Institute, my first rehab. I was on my parents' private Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance, so we're getting a little
How
deep
long
here.
ago was that?
Oh man, over 10 years ago, that's for sure.
Well, in my time frame, that's not all that long ago.
Yeah, but and it just started.
So I was going to ask you though, what your family was still involved, and
yeah,
you talk a little bit about your brother. You said you had a sister too.
Yeah, she came around a little later though. When I was 13, she was born.
Okay. And did you have any significant others in your life or anything like that?
Yeah, it was just like a ever revolving. I was the problem, you know what I mean? But I still
know what you mean.
I was the problem here, but I was still trying to live a normal kind of life. So I had girlfriends, I had friends like that, but it was nothing permanent. You know what I mean? Nothing real.
Did you stay at Western or did? No.
No.
No, definitely not.
No.
Just a point back, you mentioned the use of marijuana, and many of my students tell me they've had psychotic breaks from cannabis use, so you're not alone in that experience.
Yeah, I've noticed it too. I used to work, I worked for a treatment center before I worked here. Kids were like 18, 19 years old, and although they might not have been full-blown drug addicts or alcoholics, but what they were doing is they were sitting in their rooms playing video games, smoking weed all day, and experiencing mental health issues, and also just not leaving their house, not having any kind of life. Forget failure to launch. They weren't doing anything. You know what I mean? Nothing at all.
Yeah.
And but it also definitely caused some people to have those little breaks. I stopped smoking weed for a long time. I was doing other stuff, but I was worried about that.
Yeah. All right. So you're in this heroin phase. So.
Oh yeah. It was bad.
And it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
And obviously, I believe you've come out of it.
I've came out of it. Yeah, that's for sure. But it took a long time. I had to. First, I tried to relocate.
We talked about you went to Stonington for the first time. Obviously, that didn't work too well for you.
It did not work at all.
Okay. And you got out of Stonington.
Because you went because your mom wanted you to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not. I was not ready to stop using drugs. I feel like I had just started. It was, you know what I mean? It's crazy. I'm not going to just stop now.
Right.
And I think of people that I know personally who have gotten sober at 19 or 20 or 21, and like they've done so much with their life, and I'm like, I could have done that too. You know, it's not like regret, but it's like, that was, I had a chance, but you know, it's
you had
okay.
a choice.
Yeah, but yeah.
My 20s were living hell. I got into recovery at 28 back in 87. I was still a very young person in recovery. There weren't too many people that were my age in the rooms or anything.
Yeah.
So
That's when I was born, 87.
okay, we can continue.
So,
Hey, by the way, you do have a daughter that's
I know.
born in 87.
I know.
So.
I have a daughter born in 87 too.
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I don't need to go into crazy detail, but for the next, you know, years, I was, you know, struggling with, you know, heroin, struggling with going methadone. I'd get off methadone. I would try to relocate. There was times where I was trying not to use drugs, but I would just switch them to other drugs. So I would get off the heroin. I would get on benzos and take Adderall, and you know what I mean. And
were these prescribed, or did you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that you didn't buy them on the street?
There was a little everything. But
Everything?
At one time, I was prescribed a very serious amount of Adderall and Xanax, and the doctor who prescribed them to me, which was all under the table, cash. There was no insurance involved.
That doesn't happen in Connecticut. You're kidding me. There's no way doctors
Milford,
would do
Connecticut.
that. No way doctors would do that.
And he actually was caught by the DEA
Yeah.
and had to serve time for it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a big case too. And but anyways, you know, I'm not going to blame him for it. I'm the one. I'm trying to seek these different drugs because I'm trying not to use this drug, so I'm going to try this thing.
There was a demand, and he was meeting the demand.
And yes, yeah. And but you know, I will say for a while I got off of like the hard drugs. You know, I stopped using, you know, heroin. I stopped using forms of cocaine. I stopped using methadone. But I was messed up on Xanax and Adderall. I was like. But it wasn't to the point. It was to the point where I could have my own apartment, I could have a job. You know what I mean? And I had friends. Wasn't sticking a needle in my arm, but I was strung out on these medications, and it wasn't enough from what I was prescribed. I had to buy more. I had to sell them. You know what I mean? And you know, it was like a chore. It was something I had to do every single day, and it evolved. Everything revolved around these pills, and. It's funny because I know people who are prescribed these drugs still, and it's still a common thing, and it's hard to get out of. It really is, because I remember thinking, I'll never stop taking Adderall because Adderall gives me energy and it makes me focused and I want to get stuff done, and it wasn't even about a party or fun. It was like, I'm focused, I can go to work and I'm happy at work and energetic. That lasted for a while, and then it was fun until it wasn't fun anymore.
Do you think that was true though, that the Adderall didn't help you focus and give you energy and all that?
Yeah, focus on like maybe painting something absurd for 3 hours straight, sweating. You know what I mean? Like I'm putting my focus into things, but not like, you know, trading stocks or something like this. You know, I'm putting my focus into walking around downtown Green, hanging out with people. You know, I don't actually think it was good for me. I don't think I had ADHD. I think that was all crock, you know. And I do believe in ADHD, stuff like that, but I don't think Adderall is necessarily, you know, the right medication for some people. And so I use those prescription drugs. I was getting caught with them, like as in too many of them, and I just kept getting in trouble. Nothing serious, but I just kept, maybe semi-serious, but I was getting in trouble, and I was, getting locked up for just like a short amount of time and getting out, and, my parents, they were still in my life. They were helping me as much as they could, but, they had a disconnect too, because I would burn them. I burned them a lot. And people would try to help me get sober, and I went to a couple rehabs and stuff, and just didn't work until I was ready. You know what I mean? I had to be ready first.
And then what made you get ready?
Well, so I got in trouble one last time, and I kind of just like looked at myself. I had a mugshot, and I looked like I was gonna die. And I saw it, and I felt like I was gonna die too. At this time, I couldn't afford prescription pills. I was buying like research stuff, that does kind of the same stuff. It makes you feel the same way, but it's a lot cheaper. It was killing me. It really was. And I was really skinny, and I looked like I was going to die. And I remember I was in the jail cell, and some woman came in, and this really foggy. And some woman came into my jail cell and said, "I can get you bonded out if you go to treatment." And I was like, "What? Oh, okay." And then I remember she was going to bring me to SCAD or something, but there wasn't a bed at the time, so she brought me to L&M. And she brought me to L&M, and I remember she sat with me, and I can't even remember her name. I feel so bad, but like she sat with me, and she was some kind of peer advocate or something. I'm not sure exactly what her position was, but she also would work at SCAD sometimes in the back on her computer. And so like she sat with me in the waiting room, like we talked, and she was coaching me. And and then I remember I went into the hospital, got a hospital, in the ED. I was in the ED, and I remember getting kind of treated kind of poorly by this one nurse, and I kept telling her, like, I don't need to be here. Don't even worry about it. Like, I'm gonna shut the curtain. Just let me sleep here. You know what I mean? I guess I'm waiting for a bed. I guess there was a bed waiting for me at SCAD in the morning. And I was hanging out there for the night. And I remember the morning came, and somebody came in, talked to me. It was from CCAR, 100%, and I can't remember if it was David or.
How long ago was that?
That was 3.5 years ago.
3.5.
Yeah.
What's SCAD?
SCAD is a detox in New London.
Okay.
Southern Connecticut addiction.
Alcohol and drug dependence. It's real old school. It's been around for a long time.
Which was good for me. It was. I thought it was a good detox, so I got in there. But I remember, I did talk to someone when I was in there, but I blew him off completely. It was someone from CCAR, but I just blew him off because I said, I'm going to detox. They were trying to give me a pamphlet or something, or, just try to connect with me. And I was not really in the mood. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really in the mood.
Yeah. Well, I hear that.
Went over to SCAD. I remember the Medicab came. Access Line was called, and I don't know if it was Access Line then, but whatever it was, and got into the jankiest cab. It was so. I was like, what? I couldn't believe that someone. This car was breaking down. It was so, and look at me. I'm like, this car is breaking down, and I'm literally broken down. You know what I mean? Right. But it was fitting, you know. And got to SCAD. Was there for 5 days, and Lebanon Pines. Afterwards, for almost 90 days. And my family came up and visited me. My brother was sober. He's been sober for over a year at the time, I think. And I was like, I'll try this. I'll try this. You know what I mean? I'll try it. Because I feel like I might die if I don't try it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm here. I've been sober since. And took a lot of work, though. A lot of work.
When you say work, and we hear that a lot about recovery, what's the work? How do you define the work?
Well, first, you have to kind of want it. You know what I mean? And the work is waking up at a normal time and, getting involved, whether it is some sort of community, a 12-step community. At Rehab, it was just waking up and trying to do my chore and be around other people and just socialize with other people. I wasn't good at doing that because I was isolated for so long. And started going to AA meetings and, found a sponsor. And then, when I got out of Lebanon Pines, I moved into a sober house. And I think that was really important, is because you get out of the rehab and you're like, well, now
I'm free.
Exactly. I can do whatever I want. I was in Lebanon, Connecticut. I had no idea where Lebanon, Connecticut was before I went there. I didn't know. I also didn't know it was one of the biggest towns in the whole state. It's huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I got out of there, and my brother was like, dude, you got to go to the sober house, and you got to come to meetings with me. And I was like, okay. And then I was at the sober house for a month, and I was like, I don't have any money. And he was like, all right, well, you got to get a little job. And I'm like, okay, what's a little job? Okay, I started landscaping with a guy who was in recovery, not even every day, maybe 3 or 4 times a week. Got a little extra money, and then I was hitting meetings every single day. I was only socializing or talking to people who did not use drugs and alcohol. Now, they were sober people, they were in recovery, and it was people I knew that I would not have any chance to be in front of anything. And it went, and it was slow, and it was actually kind of hard because people started getting high in my sober house and stuff, and I remember I found drugs one time. Well, no, it was actually paraphernalia, and I knew people were using in there, and people were acting weird, and you're just a little more in tune with things when you're clean. And I remember I applied to a rehab to try to work there because I had some friends who were working there, and they were like, you only have 4 months sober. And I'm like, okay, but I'm willing to work for barely anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they said, come back when you have 6 months. I came back when I had 6 months.
And so you had magically changed in those 2 months,
in those
right?
I came back in the 6 months, started working there for nothing. But you know what? I started working for very little money, but the thing is, I was around other sober people, which was good, which kept me good. The staff was sober, and even the kids didn't want to be sober, the clients, but they were. Some of them did, but and it was good to just be in that atmosphere of people who are trying to, better themselves and live drug and alcohol free. And I just stayed around those people.
Yeah. Kept
going to meetings though, because but my meetings did fall off. I was working weird hours, you know what I mean? But it was crazy because I stopped going to meetings for a couple weeks, and I told my boss, I'm like, listen, I need to work first shift because this is affecting me. You know what I mean? Like I kind of want to get high.
Yeah.
And after a while, I got in first shift, and I'd still go to my meetings. I'd take guys to meetings, and slowly things got better, and it was getting better, and I was just like, all right, I think I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing it.
And you have been.
I have been. And then I was, I feel like I'm getting hot, but, so, yeah. And then I remember they were offering CCAR trainings at the rehab I was working at.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I didn't put anything together like, oh, CCAR, like when I was in the, no, it wasn't like that. It was just like, they offered it to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, cool, they offered me something. That's cool. Like, I felt a little special. And and then what happened is something happened where there was some turnover going on at the rehab, and so if 20 people were offered these courses or whatever, I didn't know much about it, and if 20 people got offered it, we all had 1 or 2 classes, and then all of a sudden something happened, and they were like, oh, we have to restart this up in like 2 months. We can't do this right now. And I was like, oh, well, when it restarted up, they only let 8 people come back. I was one of those 8 people, so I felt really like I was doing something right, So I was actually like, okay, I'm going to do these, and it was the RCA,
Mm-hmm.
and it was run by Sam Cohen and John Palmer,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, pretty good guys, I'll say.
Yes, they are.
And they're both funny, and they're both like different, and they both butt heads a little bit, but it was interesting, and they did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And I did all the 5 classes there. Then I did spirituality, and then I did professionalism, and I started while I was in those taking those classes. I was thinking, I remember this. This was from when I was in the hospital. You know what I mean? But I didn't know. Even when I was taking the classes, I didn't know you could work for CCAR. I thought CCAR was a like a teaching thing,
A training
organization.
Yeah.
That's all I thought it was.
Right.
And we did talk about coaching and recovery coaching,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I didn't. It's weird. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I'm also, and still pretty semi-early recovery. You know what I mean? And I didn't really know much, And I also, some of the language I heard was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
When you say you're in recovery, you're in recovery. Like
You're in recovery when you say you are.
I couldn't. I was like, what does that even mean? And then I was like, I started understanding it, and I really listened in there, and I had some fun in there too. I thought it was fun, but it also got me out of my, you guys got to stretch. If one day we were, I was trying to be slumped up and not do anything, John Palmer would be, oh, Zach, all right, get up, and he, and we would do, a training where we would all have to be like together, and do stuff and get out of our comfort zones, and it helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that, and I said,
And you're an employee of this place still.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
So after I did that, I told them, I said, all right, well, I'm 30. I was 31 at the time. I was like, I want to do more now. So what's up?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, something's coming down the pipe. You're going to get a promotion. Don't worry. And that went on for a year. And I never got anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing went farther. And it wasn't really necessarily about money, but money was a factor because I was getting paid very little.
Mm-hmm.
And also I was, I moved out of my sober house. I needed, I just needed to do more too. I was just support staff, and I felt like a babysitter at times. So I was researching more into CCAR. Like, can I work over there? And I remember my brother was working at Aware, and he was like, oh yeah, dude, you gotta go to CCAR. Or
Mm-hmm.
you can come here, or you can go to CCAR. But he said, I think you'd like CCAR, And I'm like, all right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, here, call this kid. And I'm like, who? It was TJ, and he was like, here, just call him and just ask him what's up. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
And I would never do this kind of stuff like in very early recovery or even when I was getting high. I wouldn't just call random people. Someone told me to call. Like I just, you know what I mean? But like, no, I'm fine with it, And so I call him and he's like, oh yeah, man, like listen, this is what he told me all about it. And he was like real stoked up. And I was like, is this guy really this happy? Like this is like, he sounds so happy. And I applied to be a coach, and I remember getting a call saying, all right, yeah, you got an interview. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, oh, the interview is going to be yada yada this day. Yeah, people are having fun out there,
Yeah.
It's a good atmosphere.
It's all right.
And so I remember the first in-person interview was when I went on a trip to Israel with my brother and got home, and I was feeling all refreshed and feeling like I just had this great trip. And I remember doing the interview, and I remember meeting Rebecca, Jennifer, you briefly, but you were in and out, and I was like, okay, I really liked it. The first interview went well. I got the other interview, and I'm like, I think I might get this job. I honestly felt that. It was like, I feel like I could be good at it too, And I also, I just had gotten my RCP designation, and I was like, so what I ended up doing though was I ended up being at the other rehab I was working at, and I was so stoked about hoping I was going to work here. Okay, had 2 interviews and felt like they went well, and I may have started, flapping my mouth a little bit around the rehab, saying, "Oh man, there's this organization I'm trying to work for, CCAR, blah blah." They take care of their employees, and it's like a great atmosphere, and I'm going to be like on the front lines, and I might have. It got back to people there that I was, and they did not like that.
Wow.
They didn't like that at all.
Nobody likes when you find out your
I know,
staff is looking for another
job. But the thing is, though, is that I told them that if I couldn't get a promotion or a pay raise, then I needed to find something else.
Yeah.
It's fair.
I was there for 18 months, and I just at minimum wage, 13 eventually, but whatever, not a lot of money at all, and and I just wanted more, and they weren't capable of giving it to me. So, and
did you know that Tom was working here at the time? Had you put?
Yes, I did.
Together?
I didn't know he was working here. So I hit him up, and this is what he said to me. I said, "Can you put the good word in for me?" And he was like, "I can't do that."
Good man.
and that's
Why?
Swear to God.
Because he felt it was against policy, or because he didn't think you could do it?
No,
I just wasn't.
But no, for real, I was shocked. I was actually pissed when he said that.
I bet.
He was like, I can't put in a good word for you. And he was like, you've got to do this yourself. He was like, the only thing I can...
Wow, Tom, I'm impressed. Nice response.
The only thing he did tell me, he said, you got to write a good cover letter. And I said, okay. Right. And he said, talk about your story in the cover letter. I was like, what?
Exactly.
I'm like, you mean like the bad stuff? He was like, the bad stuff, the good stuff, just do a good cover letter. That's all he could tell me. And then I think he looked over my cover letter, just, make sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
But he said, can't give you any, can't put in a good word. But, I went in those interviews thinking, like, when I met Jennifer and Rebecca, they were so nice, and they were so sweet, and, like, they just seemed, like, it didn't seem fake, you know what I mean?
It's not.
But I'm used to working at jobs where things feel fake at times, you know what I mean? And they'll say, oh, we're a family, but, like, no, they're not. They're not. But, and, man, when I got hired here, I was so stoked. I remember I was like, I felt like I just, like, accomplished something, like, real, and I was so excited to start, and... but I got fired from that other job. They fired me one week before I was officially hired here. Didn't collect unemployment, didn't do anything like that, but I still have some resentment for that, slightly,
I get it.
If you look at it as glass half full, at least you didn't have to go through the process of quitting. You didn't have to agonize over where you should go.
Right. Yeah, no, it was, everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And
So how long ago were you hired?
February 3rd, 2000, right? It's been 18 months almost.
2020.
2020, yeah. Yes.
So right before COVID.
Right before COVID, yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I went into the hospitals, I shadowed, and I was let go on myself. I only shadowed for 2 weeks because I got it pretty fast. I got
Right.
TRS fast.
Mhm.
I felt confident, you know what I mean? And I remember Gina was like, all right, you ready to go? Or you need another week? Because if you need more time, it's all good.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I'm ready to do this, you know? I was stoked. I'm excited. I want to do this, you know? And did it for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, and then COVID hit. But we were going to the hospital still for about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, but, you know, I never really worked a lot before COVID, you know, as a recovery coach. And it was hard getting used to. And also, I mean, when we were not going to the hospitals at all, I was bored, man.
Oh, yeah.
I was big time bored.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at home because I'm not going out and doing stuff because I'm going to get calls. I'm going to coach people on the phone. I'm going to do TRS, you know what I mean? And I'm going to try to stay involved. But it was a lot of just sitting at home.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, for a lot of people. Yeah, for almost everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, have you been dispatched back to that hospital that you went to?
So it's funny because I thought early on I thought it was Bacchus but then I realized I went to Bacchus while I was at Lebanon Pines, and that's why I got it confused. So I met David at L&M to shadow with him, and I was like, oh my God, this was the hospital, because I remember it completely now. You know what I mean? I don't work in the East that much, but I've been there for sure. I went back. You know?
It'd be interesting if you met that nurse again.
But
If he could remember.
She probably doesn't
You know,
remember
the
you
thing
because
is-
it's changed.
Exactly. The thing is that, you know what, she might not even have been like being mean. She just sees it all the time, and she she doesn't know what recovery looks like usually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She doesn't see a lot of the good parts of it. Like this, when if that person gets sober, they're not coming back to the hospital anymore.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So she doesn't see the ending of it if it's a good ending.
Right.
So I can understand. I can understand where she's coming from. A lot of people don't know anyone that's in recovery either. They just
I've been
don't.
doing a lot of talking lately with people across university campus, and there's this impression when you start talking about recovery, they get very serious. You're in recovery.
Right, yeah.
It becomes very, I'm like, no, we're in recovery. Like, if
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
around people in recovery, we're pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
It's a
Right.
pretty happy place to be. And it's okay, you know, even picking out graphics with a graphic designer to do some promotion stuff, and they're looking for all this kind of serious contemplative stuff, and I'm like, no, see those silhouettes where they're jumping in the air? Like, it's a good thing.
It is. I mean, it's fun too.
We worked our way through COVID, and the last thing you said is you were bored, but I don't think you're bored now.
No.
So we've opened back up, and what's your role been like? And talk about that.
Number one, I think what we're doing right now is this work is really important, especially now because of COVID. I would say that the majority of people are struggling with alcohol at the moment. You know, there is drugs, of course, you know, but there's a lot of people now who were regular kind of drinkers. Maybe they drank a little too much before COVID. You know, they drank every weekend, you know, and they lost their jobs, and they started hitting that bottle every day. And all of a sudden they're feeling sick when they don't have alcohol. And now I come in, and I'm trying to see what I can do for them and let them know that, listen, you can get sober, you know what I mean? I'm going to try to help you here. And I think that's just really important because these people, COVID changed so much for everyone, you know, and I think I think it's going to be a little more work for all of us.
I agree.
You know what I
Home
mean?
delivery is just expanded so much too that
Yeah,
it's even easier to hide with it.
right.
Get anything you need in the comfort of your own home. But I just looked at some numbers for 2020, the year of COVID, and coaches like you, we saw 4,700 people last year or had contact with them. You know, we might not have been able to actually go in and see, but we talked to people, had contact with them, and that's a remarkable number. Still, just in Connecticut,
Yeah.
and people that would never have seen a coach, and what would their prognosis be like? I mean, there's no hope for recovery. So, do you know how many people you've seen?
I know that my TRS has like 12 pages probably, and there's I think 20. I mean, it's in probably over 200, 300
Already,
Yeah.
And think about that, where you were a few years ago, and being seen by a coach. We think it's probably David, right, or somebody.
Yeah.
And
I
now,
remember a hat though. I'm telling you,
Maybe one-
like one of the. This is a very fuzzy time.
Right.
Okay.
And now you're helping people in the same situation in a relatively short amount of time. I think that's extraordinary. Do you have any people, or I don't like to say cases, but people that you worked with that really stand out to you that are
I do. I have a couple. I just got a text from someone who I haven't talked to in a couple months, but it's because I saw him a year ago, and he said, "Hey man, I haven't spoke to you in a while. I just wanted to check in." I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He was like, "I'm doing great. I'm coming up on a year sober," and he's older than me. He's like got a family. He's in his 50s, and he was like, "We should get coffee," and I'm like, "You know, we should. You know, let's do it." I haven't seen him in a year, and we used to text almost, every day, and talk, a few times a week.
Right.
And he stayed sober the whole time. And
Wow.
And I have some people who go to detox and go to rehab, and they're actually like, "Listen, I wasn't going to go to rehab, but you told me that you think it's important. You know what I mean, to do more treatment besides 6 days in detox." And I said, not only do I think it's important, it worked for me. You know what I mean? So I'm letting you know that this helped me.
Yeah.
And so that's always good, because I really like to tell people, nicely tell them that, listen, when you're at detox, you got to ask for more. You got to advocate. You say, "I need more help." Because, some people might need, maybe they can't go. Maybe they have this job. Maybe they have that. I feel like everyone can, but I understand some people say they can't do rehab. But I always say, advocate for more when you're at that detox. Tell them you need more.
It's a great point.
And I usually keep in touch with people for months. And there's some happy stories. There's some sad stories. But that's life. There's ups and downs in life. And you stay sober and clean. You know what I mean? You get in recovery. It's not so, but there's ups and downs, and but I loved it, man. This is what I like to do.
What do you do for fun?
Oh man, I like painting. I do painting.
What kind of painting?
Abstract stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I do a lot of weird stuff.
Oh, nice.
I also collect Pokemon cards.
We might have some hanging around the house somewhere.
Really?
I have a son that collected Pokemon cards. Yeah.
He might have some good ones. And I go see my family every single week. Go see them on Sunday, and I watch baseball. I enjoy sports. Play poker. I try to stay busy, and I go to meetings still. I still only really hang out with people that are in recovery. I don't limit myself to any. I will hang out with. If I'm friends with you, I can be friends with you. But I still like to be around my recovery people. It's the people that I don't know. It's the people I like.
You're straight edge folks.
In a sense, they're straight edge, but
You're gonna have to go do some Googling out.
Oh, definitely. You hang out with Tom at all, or is he like?
I saw him last weekend.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Yeah, we were down at my mom's house in Saybrook, and we saw our friend Jeff, and we went fishing and didn't catch any fish because we went to like the worst fishing spot.
But I like that you're trying. That's cool.
He's always
There's never a bad day of fishing.
Yeah, we were just hanging out.
Right.
You know?
That's really what it's about, right? Being in a great place, and yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you joined our team. You're a huge asset. You've helped so many, and I think the best is yet to come. You're going to help many, many more.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, thank you.
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say, continue.
It's great to meet you, Zach.
Yeah, it was good to meet you too. I'm glad to be here today, and I was glad I'm able to do this. I'm still a little nervous, sweating a little bit. It's hot in here. You know what I mean? But I think this is important.
It's always good when you can teach Phil some new things.
Well,
yeah.
It was hard to tell you were nervous. I do love hearing all about that, the straight edge and all. That was just fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've learned a lot today. Thank you.
More you know.
Yeah.
Stories like yours, like Tom's, like others are just so important. You know, the population that I work with are primarily 18 to 24, and to see that this is a great time in their life to just turn it all around.
Yeah.
And the opportunities you can't even predict.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's an important time too. And man, I can only imagine if I got this at 21 or 22. But you know what? I don't regret it. You know what I mean? I don't live in.
All of that is being used in what you're doing today.
Exactly.
You still got it at a very young age. Yeah.
It's character development. A lot of character development.
You got it young.
Older than you.
Yeah.
By 2 years.
I was a baby, 26.
You were.
Wow, you guys were young when you got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at
Thank
least we
you,
all
Zach.
got it. Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here today. So, is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Is that it, Tom? Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, then.
He's up.
He's up.
He gone. You leave.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, it's all right.